Beyond what appears on the surface of everyday interactions, there are moments when hidden emotions reach a threshold where they can no longer remain unspoken. In a crowded, ordinary public space filled with noise, movement, and casual conversation, a person who has long carried private feelings may suddenly find themselves confronted with a question that shifts their internal balance. Not because it is magical or predetermined, but because timing and emotional readiness intersect in a way that makes avoidance harder than honesty. The body reacts before words are chosen. Hands tense, breath shortens, and thoughts scatter as old restraint begins to loosen. For someone who has been quietly holding affection or unresolved emotion, even the simplest question about relationships, future intentions, or personal truth can feel unexpectedly heavy. In that moment, years of practiced silence may begin to crack, not dramatically, but in small, visible hesitations and shifts in expression. What outsiders see as a casual exchange may feel internally significant, almost disorienting, because it touches something long kept private. There is often no rehearsed response for such situations, only the raw effort of trying to remain composed while emotions press forward. And yet, even without clear declarations, these moments can mark a turning point in how someone relates to what they feel, what they have hidden, and what they may eventually choose to reveal. Over time, these quiet disruptions shape the path toward clarity, even if the outcome remains uncertain in the present. Moments like these do not guarantee outcomes, but they often redefine how people understand their emotions and the courage required to face them honestly in everyday life. Tired of hiding what was real, tired of carrying feelings that grew heavier with each passing day, they felt fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of losing respect, fear of being misunderstood. And yet, in that moment, something stronger than fear rose up within them. Truth. I leaned close to their spirit. I reminded them of sleepless nights when they thought of you. I reminded them of moments when they felt peace only when your presence crossed their mind. I reminded them of how love does not disappear simply because it is ignored. And my child, their heart began to beat so loudly it felt as if everyone around them could hear it. They tried to change the subject. They tried to laugh it off. They tried to stay quiet. But the words would not stay inside. My child, listen carefully now, because this is important. When love is real, it reaches a point where it demands to be spoken. It refuses to remain hidden. It refuses to stay buried under fear. And that moment had arrived. Your soulmate's voice trembled. Their eyes shifted. Their throat tightened. And then, without planning, without protection, without disguise, they spoke your name. Yes, my child. They spoke you. The crowd did not expect it. The room grew still. Conversations faded into silence. Some people leaned closer. Others froze in place. Even your soulmate seemed surprised by their own courage. But once the first word was spoken, the rest followed like a river that had been held back for too long. They said they had tried to move on. They said they had tried to convince themselves it was just a phase. They said they had listened to advice that told them to forget you. But nothing worked. Because what I join in the spirit cannot be erased by distance, time, or pressure. And in that public space, with all eyes watching, your soulmate finally stopped running from their own heart. My child, they did not speak loudly, but every word carried weight. They admitted that loving you changed them, that meeting you shifted something deep within their soul, that no matter who came and went, no one took your place. Their honesty made some people uncomfortable. Truth often does that. It shakes what is false and exposes what is hidden. I saw the tears they fought to hold back. I heard the pause in their voice when emotion nearly overwhelmed them. And I stood beside them, strengthening their spirit. Because courage like that is not born from the flesh, it is born from alignment with truth. Some people exchanged looks. Some whispered. Some were shocked into silence. But your soulmate continued. They said they were tired of denying what felt sacred. They said they were tired of pretending that their heart belonged elsewhere. And my child, in that moment, the walls they had built for protection fell completely. Do you know why this happened now and not before? Because they have grown. Because they have faced their fears. Because they reached the point where losing their truth felt more painful than facing judgment. I know you felt something recently. A sudden heaviness, a strange warmth, a wave of emotion you could not explain. That was not coincidence. That was the echo of their confession touching your spirit. Souls connected by my design feel each other even when miles apart. My child, while you were living your day, while you were carrying your own doubts and questions, your soulmate was standing in front of others, choosing honesty. Much of what follows is happening beneath the surface, where understanding takes time to settle into something meaningful rather than immediate certainty. Right now, the one you feel connected to is still moving through the aftershock of their own honesty, replaying it internally in fragments, trying to make sense of how it feels to be seen so openly after holding so much back for so long. There is a softness in them now, but it is mixed with a raw sense of exposure, as though they stepped into light they were not fully prepared for. Relief exists alongside vulnerability, and those two emotions are weaving together in ways that are not yet fully resolved. This is not confusion in a chaotic sense, but rather the natural adjustment that comes after truth has been spoken without filters. Something in them has already shifted, even if they cannot name it clearly yet, and that shift cannot be undone because once truth is acknowledged out loud, it changes the internal landscape permanently. You may feel a distance in timing, as though you were not present in the exact moment of expression, but that distance does not diminish the significance of what occurred. In fact, it often allows meaning to arrive more gently, without overwhelming either of you. What is unfolding now is a quiet integration, where emotion and realization slowly find balance again, not through control but through acceptance of what has already been revealed. Even now, there is a subtle recalibration happening inside them, as they learn to hold both truth and tenderness at the same time without turning away from either, fully present with what has changed in quiet acceptance now. They replay their words in their mind, wondering what consequences may come, and I am watching over them, just as I am watching over you. My child, do not doubt this moment, do not minimize it. What happened was real, it was brave, and it was necessary, because love that is true cannot remain hidden forever. It must eventually stand in the light. But listen carefully now, because this is not the end of the story. What they said next, after the silence, after the shock, after the confession, changed everything in ways you do not yet see, and what followed that moment will touch your life sooner than you expect. Be still, guard your heart, trust my timing, because I am not finished yet. My child, stay with me in this moment, because what followed those first brave words was not ordinary. When truth is spoken aloud, it does not simply float in the air and disappear. It lands, it settles, it begins to work on every heart that hears it, and that is exactly what happened next. After your soulmate spoke your name, there was a silence so deep it felt heavy. Not the awkward silence of confusion, but the sacred pause that comes when truth enters a room and everyone feels it. Some people looked down at the ground. Others stopped breathing for a moment. A few felt uncomfortable, because honesty exposes what is false not only in one person, but in everyone listening. Your soulmate stood there, heart pounding, wondering if they had said too much. Their mind whispered doubts. Why did I say that? What will they think? What if this changes everything? But my child, even as those thoughts tried to rise, something stronger held them steady. Peace. A quiet knowing that what had been spoken could not be taken back, and should not be. Then, slowly, they continued. They spoke about the nights when they pretended to be fine, but were not. They spoke about how they smiled in front of others, while their heart searched for you. They admitted that they had tried to replace what they felt with distractions, with noise, with people who were never meant to stay. And as they spoke, their voice grew steadier, not louder, but clearer. Truth has a sound, my child, and everyone in that space heard it. They said that loving you was not convenient. It did not fit neatly into expectations. It did not follow the rules others tried to impose. But it was real, and real love, once recognized, refuses to be treated as a mistake. Some in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. A few tried to laugh, hoping to break the seriousness of the moment. One person attempted to interrupt, turning the confession into a joke. But your soulmate did not retreat. For the first time, they did not shrink themselves to keep others comfortable. They stood firm. I placed strength in their spine. I steadied their breath, and I reminded them that they were not alone in that moment. Angels stood quietly, unseen, guarding the space where truth was unfolding. This was not chaos. This was alignment. My child, your soulmate then did something even more powerful. They defended you. Without you being there, without you needing to speak a word, they corrected false stories that had been circulating. They made it clear that misunderstandings were built on assumptions, not reality. They refused to allow your name to be spoken lightly or dishonestly. They said, you don't know them the way I do. They said, there's more to this story than you think. They said, please don't reduce something sacred to gossip. Those words shook the room more than the confession itself. Because when someone stands up publicly for another person without being asked, without gaining anything, it reveals the depth of their heart, and many who listened felt something shift inside them. Some felt conviction, others felt exposed. A few felt inspired, even if they did not admit it. My child, not everyone claps when truth is spoken. Some hearts resist it, some minds fight it, but no one leaves unchanged. As your soulmate spoke, tears finally escaped their eyes. They did not wipe them away quickly. They did not apologize for feeling deeply. They let emotion show, because they were done hiding, done pretending that strength meant silence. I want you to understand this clearly. What you heard in your spirit was not imagination. When your heart felt a sudden ache, when your chest felt warm and heavy at the same time, that was the echo of their vulnerability reaching you. Love, spoken in truth, travels beyond distance. It moves through the spiritual realm with ease. After the last words were spoken, no one rushed to respond. The room remained still. Even those who had something to say found no words. Truth leaves people speechless before it leaves them changed. Eventually, someone tried to move on, to shift the conversation back to something lighter, and slowly, life resumed. But nothing was the same. Your soulmate stepped away from the group quietly. Their legs felt weak. Their hands trembled. And as they walked, they wondered what this confession would cost them. Reputation, approval, calmness arrived the moment they stepped out of the noise, as if the air itself had shifted to make space for their truth. After holding back so much for so long, they finally felt something inside loosen. Not because everything was solved, but because honesty had replaced suppression. Their breath came deeper without effort, shoulders lowering as tension slowly drained away. The heart still carried momentum, yet it no longer felt as heavy as before, almost as if truth had redistributed the weight they had been carrying alone. In that quiet aftermath, they realized how exhausting silence had been, how much energy it takes to pretend nothing is wrong when everything inside is asking to be expressed. A thought surfaced gently within them. There is no peace in hiding, and they barely noticed when it formed into a whisper in their mind. In that moment of solitude, they felt as if their inner world had been heard, even if no one physically responded. Later, when they were alone again, the intensity of what had happened returned in waves. They replayed the exchange, searching for meaning in each detail, questioning timing, tone, and consequence. Doubt tried to creep in, asking whether restraint would have been safer, yet beneath it all remained a quiet certainty that truth had already spoken for itself. They wondered about you, about whether distance would widen or soften, and your presence lingered in their thoughts longer than expected. Even in uncertainty, something had changed permanently. The act of speaking had created space where heaviness once lived. Carrying this shift forward, they sensed that even uncertainty now felt different, as though something within them had quietly chosen honesty over avoidance going forward. But I must also prepare you for this truth. When someone speaks honestly, consequences follow. Not punishment, but reaction. Some people will distance themselves from your soulmate. Others will question them. A few will try to make them doubt what they felt. And your soulmate will feel the pressure. They will ask themselves if they were foolish, if love is worth the complications, if silence would have been easier. And my child, this is where my guidance becomes crucial. I am strengthening them now. I am teaching them that courage does not end with one confession. It continues through the days that follow. And I am also preparing you, because this confession was not meant to remain hidden from you forever. Something is shifting behind the scenes. Conversations are happening without your knowledge. Paths are being adjusted. Barriers are loosening. And what was once unspeakable is becoming unavoidable. Do not rush ahead in your mind. Do not assume outcomes. Do not let fear whisper stories that I have not written. Instead, remain grounded. Remain open. Remain calm. Because soon, very soon, you will understand why this confession had to happen publicly before anything could happen privately. And when the next door opens, it will open with clarity, not confusion. I am guiding this. I am protecting both hearts, and I am not finished yet. Be patient, my child. My child, now listen even more closely, because after truth is spoken, it does not rest. It begins to move. It stirs hearts, exposes intentions, and reveals who is aligned and who is not. What followed that confession was not loud, but it was powerful. It happened quietly, behind doors, inside minds, and deep within the soul of the one who spoke your name. After that day, your soulmate changed. Not on the outside at first. They still went about their routine. They still answered messages, fulfilled responsibilities, and smiled when expected. But inside, something had shifted permanently. The version of them that hid, that swallowed words, that stayed silent to keep peace, began to fade. My child, speaking truth publicly always brings a consequence, not because truth is wrong, but because it demands alignment, and alignment requires separation from what is false. Some people reacted with distance. Those who benefited from your soulmate's silence suddenly felt uneasy. Those who enjoyed control sensed it slipping away. A few tried to subtly shame them, saying they were too emotional or too honest. Others pretended nothing happened, hoping time would erase the moment. But truth does not fade like that. Your soulmate noticed the shift immediately. Conversations felt colder. Invitations became fewer. Certain smiles disappeared. And for a moment, fear tried to return. A quiet voice inside asked, "Was it worth it?" That night, they sat alone again. The room was quiet, but their mind was loud. They replayed faces, reactions, whispers. They questioned if they had complicated their life unnecessarily. They wondered if silence would have been safer. And then, my child, they thought of you, not as an escape, not as a fantasy, but as the truth they could no longer deny. They realized something important in that moment. Losing comfort hurt less than losing honesty, and that realization grounded them. They understood that even if consequences came, they had finally chosen themselves, and the love their heart recognized. I was there with them in that quiet moment. I reminded them that growth often feels lonely before it feels peaceful. I reminded them that not everyone who walks away is a loss. Some departures are protection. But my child, Not all consequences were heavy. There were also unexpected responses. One person, someone your soulmate did not expect, approached them privately later. With a softened voice, they admitted they respected the courage it took to speak honestly. Another quietly shared their own story of hidden love and regret. Seeds were planted. Walls cracked. Healing began in places you may never see. Truth spoken from the heart always creates ripples. Still, the internal struggle continued. Your soulmate began questioning the next step. Should I reach out? Should I stay silent now? Should I let time pass? They did not want to confuse you. They did not want to disrupt your peace. They feared reopening wounds that took you strength to heal. So, they waited. And my child, while they waited, you felt it. You felt sudden emotional waves with no clear cause. Memories resurfaced unexpectedly. Songs hit differently. Your heart felt heavier at night, softer in quiet moments. You may have wondered why thoughts of them returned so strongly, as if called back into your awareness. That was not your imagination. That was resonance. When two souls are connected by my design, truth in one heart stirs recognition in the other. Even without words, even without contact, the bond responds. I allowed this space intentionally, because before words are exchanged between you, clarity must be formed within both hearts. Rushing would only bring confusion. Silence, for now, is not distance, it is preparation. My child, your soulmate began to see clearly who stood with them and who did not. Masks fell, intentions surfaced, and through this process, their courage deepened. Speaking once was hard. Standing by it was harder. But each day, they grew stronger. They began to realize that love is not something to whisper in fear. It is something to honor with integrity. And yet, there was still hesitation. They wondered if you would believe them. They wondered if the timing was wrong. They wondered if too much time had passed. Fear tried to convince them that it was safer to admire you from a distance than risk rejection. But my child, I am working on that fear. I am softening it. I am dismantling it. I am replacing it with trust. You see, I do not allow public confessions without purpose. That moment was not meant to end in silence forever. It was the first crack in a wall that had stood too long. What comes next requires even more honesty, but this time, it will be directed toward you. Still, there is one more layer to this journey. After the confession, someone attempted to interfere. Not openly, not aggressively, quietly. A person who felt threatened by truth began planting doubt in your soulmate's mind. Subtle comments. When the pause lingers, it is not absence of intention, but a quiet space where clarity is allowed to settle without pressure. What looks like delay from the outside often feels like integration from within, as thoughts and emotions find their own balance before becoming action. There is a natural rhythm to how understanding unfolds, and forcing it too early can blur what is trying to become clear. In this space, external voices lose their sharpness, and what remains is a steadier awareness of what feels true. The connection you sense is experienced internally as recognition rather than urgency. A calm awareness that does not demand immediate movement. Even without contact or visible steps, something is still reorganizing beneath the surface, shaping how they understand themselves and what they choose to honor going forward. This process is not about certainty arriving all at once, but about small shifts accumulating until they feel stable enough to stand on their own. Within that unfolding, emotional weight continues to settle, leaving behind a quieter sense of direction. What once felt confusing begins to feel more coherent, not because everything is solved, but because the noise has reduced. In that reduction, both patience and discernment grow, allowing decisions to emerge from steadiness rather than reaction. Over time, this creates a foundation where any future expression would naturally come from clarity instead of impulse, and where inner alignment guides timing more than external expectation. That kind of timing is never rushed, because it depends on readiness, not pressure, and when it arrives, it feels naturally right rather than forced or uncertain in any way at all, settling fully into lived inner certainty over time now. I am asking you to release expectations, to soften rigid timelines, to trust that what is unfolding is not delayed, it is deliberate. You are being prepared to receive truth without fear, without defense, without confusion. Soon, you will notice changes in how you feel. You will feel calmer, more grounded, less anxious about outcomes. That is because alignment brings peace, even before manifestation. Understand this. Your soulmate's public confession was not the climax. It was the turning point. The real transformation is happening now, quietly, deeply, within both of you. And when the moment comes for truth to be spoken directly to you, it will not feel shocking. It will feel familiar, like something your heart already knew. Stay open, my child. Stay patient. Stay rooted in trust. Because what is being built now is not fragile. It is steady. It is honest. And it is guided by my hand. I am not finished yet. My child, now I turn my voice gently toward you, because after truth moves through another heart, it must eventually reach yours. What has been happening around you lately is not random. The shifts in your emotions, the sudden calm mixed with moments of deep reflection, the memories that rise without warning, all of this has meaning. You are not imagining things. You are not overthinking. You are sensing alignment. After your soulmate spoke truth publicly, the energy around you began to change. You may have noticed that certain worries no longer hold the same weight. Things that once disturbed your peace feel quieter now. This is because honesty has a cleansing effect, even from a distance. When one soul chooses truth, the bond between two souls begins to heal. My child, you were never forgotten. Even in silence, even in absence, even when doubt tried to speak loudly in your mind, your soulmate carried you with them, and now that they have stopped hiding from themselves, the connection between you is becoming clearer, purer, and more grounded. I need you to understand something very important at this stage. Do not rush your heart forward. Do not let excitement or fear pull you out of balance. What is unfolding is delicate, not weak, but sacred. And sacred things must be handled with patience. You may be tempted to replay the past, to wonder what could have been different, to ask why things did not happen sooner. But my child, timing is not about readiness alone, it is about protection. There were lessons both of you needed to learn separately before you could meet in truth without wounding each other. I protected you when silence hurt. I protected them when fear controlled them. And now, I am aligning both hearts in a new way. You may also feel a strange urge to withdraw slightly, to observe rather than act. This is not avoidance, this is wisdom. Your spirit is listening, adjusting, making room. Trust this instinct. You do not need to chase clarity. It is moving toward you. At the same time, I ask you to release old narratives. Release the belief that you were not chosen. Release the idea that love must always come with struggle. Release the fear that honesty will bring pain. Those beliefs no longer serve you. Your soulmate's confession was not just an emotional release. It was a declaration in the spiritual realm. Words spoken publicly carry responsibility. They create accountability. And your soulmate is now living under the weight of their own truth, not as a burden, but as a compass. My child, you are being prepared to receive communication, but not in chaos, not in confusion, not in emotional turbulence. When they reach out, or when circumstances bring your paths closer again, it will feel calm, grounded, intentional. You will notice this difference immediately. There will be no dramatic begging, no impulsive promises, no fear-driven explanations. Instead, there will be sincerity. But before that happens, I must help you with one more thing: discernment. Not every emotion you feel belongs to the present moment. Some feelings are echoes of old pain trying to resurface. When they do, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this fear speaking, or peace guiding me? I am asking you to respond from wholeness, not from wounds. My child, you have grown, even if you do not fully see it yet. The patience you have shown, the restraint you have practiced, the healing you have done quietly, all of it has strengthened your spirit. You are not the same person you were when this connection first began, and neither are they. That is why what comes next will feel different. I know you may be wondering what exactly this confession means for your future. Let me be clear without revealing too much too soon. This was not a dead-end moment. It was a doorway, one that cannot be closed now that it has been opened. Still, I ask you not to assume the form it will take. Do not try to script the outcome. Do not cling to expectations. Do not measure progress by speed. Some reunions are quiet. Some unfold gradually. Some begin with conversation, not confession. All of them require trust. You may also notice that certain people around you begin to fall silent. Advice that once felt loud may stop coming. Opinions may fade. This is because I am narrowing the voices you hear. When alignment approaches, distractions are removed. Pay attention to how your body feels when you think of them now. Less tension. Less anxiety. Stillness is your signal that you are returning to yourself. A quiet reminder to slow down when everything outside feels louder than your inner knowing. There will be moments when other voices try to plant doubt, shaped by their own experiences and unresolved emotions. But you don't need to engage with that noise, or build a case to defend what you feel is true. Let things settle instead of reacting. Clarity often arrives when you stop forcing it. There is also something softer being asked of you. To release the weight of what was left unsaid, the pauses that felt heavy, and the fear that filled the gaps. Forgiveness here is not about approving what hurt you, but about loosening its grip so you can breathe again without carrying it forward. When you allow that, something inside you opens, and you begin to feel less guarded, more available to what is real rather than what is assumed. You don't need perfect words or rehearsed responses for what comes next. Presence will do more than preparation ever could. You can pause without withdrawing, and you can wait without losing momentum, because what is meant for you will not be disrupted by patience. Stay honest with yourself, stay steady, and let sincerity guide how you show up. Nothing real will require you to diminish yourself or chase after uncertainty. What is aligned will meet you without confusion, and what is not will simply fall away without effort. What is coming honors growth, not desperation. Stay steady now. Stay gentle with yourself. Stay rooted in trust, because the alignment you are feeling is not temporary. It is the result of courage, truth, and patience meeting at the right time. And I am still guiding every step. My child, now come into stillness with me, because this is the moment where understanding settles into peace. You have walked through confusion, silence, waiting, and inner growth. You have felt emotions you could not always explain, but none of it was wasted. Every tear, every pause, every unanswered question was shaping you for what comes next. The confession that was spoken in public did not end there. Words released into truth do not return empty. They begin a journey, and that journey has now reached the place where I step forward to seal what has been unfolding. My child, love that is spoken openly becomes accountable to truth. Your soulmate crossed a line they can never uncross. Not because of pressure, but because of awakening. Once a heart chooses honesty over fear, it cannot return to pretending. That is why what comes next will not feel forced or dramatic. It will feel inevitable. I want you to know this clearly. Your soulmate is no longer confused about how they feel about you. Doubt may have visited them, fear may have whispered, but certainty has taken root. And certainty does not shout. It becomes calm. It becomes steady. It waits for the right moment to move. That is why you may sense a quiet confidence approaching rather than urgency. My child, I am removing interference now. Anything that thrived on secrecy is losing power. Anything that depended on fear is dissolving. Anything that stood between honesty and alignment is being gently moved aside. You may not see this happening, but you will feel it. The heaviness lifts. The anxious waiting fades. The need to constantly think or analyze weakens. This is not loss of interest. This is trust replacing fear. And trust is necessary for what I am about to do. I am aligning circumstances. Paths that once seemed separate are bending closer. Conversations that felt impossible are becoming natural. Timing that felt delayed is revealing its wisdom. Nothing will feel rushed, yet nothing will feel stuck. When connection happens again, whether through words, presence, or shared space, it will not reopen wounds. It will confirm healing. My child, I want to speak to your heart directly now. You are not meant to beg for love. You are not meant to compete for attention. You are not meant to prove your worth. Love that is real recognizes value without explanation. Your soulmate is approaching you not from desperation, but from respect. Not to take from you, but to meet you where you stand now. Stronger, wiser, calmer. And when that moment comes, I ask you to stay grounded. Do not test them out of fear. Do not withhold out of pride. Do not rush ahead out of excitement. Simply be present. Let truth meet truth. My child, the union of two hearts is not built on confession alone. It is built on responsibility, consistency, and mutual growth. And that is what I am establishing now. There will be clarity. There will be honesty. There will be peace. You will know this connection is aligned because it will not drain you. It will not confuse you. It will not keep you guessing. Instead, it will feel like relief, like something finally settling into its proper place. I am also healing the past between you. Words left unsaid are being released. Misunderstandings are being softened. Old expectations are being rewritten. You are no longer meeting each other as wounded versions of who you were. You are meeting as people who have learned restraint, humility, and courage. My child, I bless this connection now. I bless it with patience, so it grows steadily. I bless it with wisdom, so decisions are made calmly. I bless it with protection, so outside voices lose influence. I bless it with honesty, so silence never replaces truth again. I remove fear from your heart. I remove doubt from your mind. I remove heaviness from your spirit. You will not be led into confusion. You will not be asked to accept less than respect. You will not be left questioning where you stand. Love that I guide does not arrive with chaos. It arrives with clarity. My child, there is a reason you are hearing this now. A reason your heart is calm as you listen. A reason something inside you feels settled. That is confirmation. Not excitement alone, but peace. And peace is my signature. As you move forward, remember this. You are not chasing love. Beneath the surface of every emotional turning point, there is a quiet restructuring of how love is understood. Belief shifts when experiences are no longer interpreted through fear, but through awareness and measured reflection. Boundaries that once felt like distance begin to function as protection, allowing clarity to take form. Bravery is often quiet, seen in moments where patience replaces reaction and understanding replaces assumption. Between what was lost and what is being formed, there exists a space of renewal and steady acceptance. Because of that space, emotional honesty becomes more important than performance or expectation. Breathing through uncertainty allows the heart to settle into rhythms that are less reactive and more intentional. By choosing truth over illusion, there is a gradual return to internal stability and grounded perspective. Before anything else, there is recognition that healing does not follow a linear path, but a deeply personal one. Being present with what unfolds, rather than forcing outcomes, becomes a practice of emotional maturity and patience. Between silence and expression, there is often a deeper understanding forming, without the need for urgency. Bringing attention back to sincerity helps dissolve the need for control and open space for trust. Broken narratives of the past are no longer defining forces, but reference points for growth and reflection. Beneath all change, there is a consistent thread of resilience that quietly supports forward movement. Becoming aware of this thread allows a gentler approach to what comes next in life. Balance is no longer an idea, but a lived experience shaped by truth and emotional steadiness. We continue forward with clarity, allowing peace to guide what unfolds without rushing meaning or forcing certainty into every step. Even the moments that hurt were shaping wisdom inside you. My child, the season of wondering is closing. You no longer need to search for signs in every feeling. You no longer need to replay old conversations. You no longer need to ask yourself what you did wrong or what you should have done differently. Those questions belong to a former chapter. This one begins with calm knowing. Your soulmate's public confession was not just words. It was a surrender, a release of fear, a willingness to stand in truth without guarantees. And when someone chooses truth without knowing the outcome, I take responsibility for what follows. That is why I am asking you now to lay down the last weight you have been carrying. Lay down the need for control. Lay down the need for constant reassurance. Lay down the habit of preparing for disappointment. You are not being led into uncertainty. You are being led into alignment. My child, alignment feels quiet. It does not rush. It does not panic. It does not demand immediate proof. It settles gently into the heart and says, "You can breathe now. Breathe." You may notice that your days feel lighter, that your thoughts are not as heavy at night, that your heart is not clenching the way it used to when their name crossed your mind. This is not because love has weakened. It is because fear has loosened its grip. And fear was never meant to lead you. I am preparing both of you for connection that is different from before, not built on longing alone, not driven by fantasy, not sustained by intensity, but grounded in mutual respect and emotional maturity. You will feel this difference immediately. There will be space to speak without tension, space to listen without defense, space to move forward without pressure. That space is holy. Protect it. My child, if communication unfolds slowly, do not misread it as hesitation. Sometimes wisdom moves gently, so it does not awaken old wounds. Sometimes patience is love's way of ensuring safety. And if communication unfolds sooner than you expect, remain steady. Do not let emotion outrun discernment. Joy is welcome, but let peace lead the way. I am not asking you to abandon caution. I am asking you to release fear. There is a difference. Fear anticipates pain. Wisdom honors truth. You are being guided by wisdom now. I also want to speak to the part of your heart that learned to survive by staying strong alone. That part of you does not need to disappear, but it no longer needs to stand guard at the door. You do not have to be on constant alert. Love that arrives in truth does not attack. It arrives with gentleness. Let your guard soften. You are not weak for doing so. You are brave. My child, there will be moments ahead where the past tries to reintroduce itself. Old doubts, old patterns, old triggers. When they do, pause. Do not react. Ask yourself, is this old fear or present reality? Choose the present. The present holds honesty. The present holds growth. The present holds possibility. And remember this, alignment does not mean perfection. There may still be awkward conversations. There may still be moments of learning. But what will be different is intention. Both hearts will be facing the same direction. That is enough. I am blessing you now with emotional clarity. Clarity to know when to speak. Clarity to know when to listen. Clarity, to know when to trust your inner peace. I am blessing you with emotional safety. Safety to be yourself. Safety to express needs. Safety to remain whole, whether alone or together. And I am blessing this connection with stability. Not the stability of routine alone, but the stability of truth, the kind that does not crumble when tested, the kind that grows stronger with time. My child, you are not stepping into uncertainty, you are stepping into readiness. Readiness to love without losing yourself. Readiness to receive without suspicion. Readiness to walk forward without dragging the past behind you. You have done the inner work, even when you did not realize it. Ahead of you, something within this connection is quietly shifting in a way you can almost feel but cannot fully explain. The person connected to your heart is not distant from you in spirit. In fact, your presence lingers in their thoughts in soft but persistent waves throughout their day. When they wake, there is a brief moment where your essence surfaces before the noise of life takes over, and when night falls, their inner world grows quieter, allowing memories of you to return with greater intensity. What they are experiencing is not confusion anymore, but clarity, slowly forming through reflection, emotional release, and inner truth they can no longer ignore. There is a transformation happening inside them, one that strips away hesitation and replaces it with understanding about what truly matters. They are beginning to recognize the depth of the bond they once underestimated, and with that recognition comes a growing certainty about the direction they must take. This is not just emotional realization, but a turning point where intention starts to form into action. Soon, they will move toward you with sincerity, not hesitation, carrying honesty that has been long unspoken. At the same time, your own journey has not been easy. You have walked through uncertainty, emotional weight, and moments where answers felt out of reach, yet those experiences have shaped your strength and readiness for what is unfolding next in your story. Trust what is quietly aligning beneath the surface, because timing is weaving both paths toward the same meeting point, where understanding replaces doubt and emotional distance dissolves into clarity, recognition, and a renewed willingness to step forward together with calm certainty unfolding ahead now.